Over at DC Comics, the Green Lantern franchise was so healthy that it was able to support several events like the Sinestro Corps War and Blackest Night. Sadly, the Green Lantern title over at DC Comics hasn't quite sustained that sense of reputation that it once had, but DC is finally looking to switch a little bit of gears over on the Green Lantern franchise and is introducing a brand new run written over from kind of superstar writer Jeremy Adams, who delivered really strong material over in DC's Flash run. If that wasn't good enough, the art that we're treated to over in the issue is coming in from Xermanico, who delivered incredible work over with Jeff Johns, writer of the Green Lantern comic book, to deliver excellent work in Flashpoint Beyond. Now that two of DC's really strong creators are tackling a Green Lantern ongoing series again, will these creators be able to restore this book back into prominence? My name is Ariko Braddock, and today let's go ahead and review a brand new chapter of Green Lantern #1 to see how DC's Emerald Knight is faring in the modern day of DC Comics. But before we get deeper into the video, I want to go ahead and encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that like button if you enjoy our content. I want to go ahead and kick things off by reading a little bit of context behind this issue with DC's solicitation text for Green Lantern #1. Back on Earth. Spinning out of the events of Dark Crisis, the Guardians of Oa, at the heart of the Green Lantern Corps, have quarantined Sector 2814, home of the planet Earth, and its champion along with it. A heartbreaking defeat has sent Hal reeling, returning home to discover his roots in the man responsible for ruining his life, Sinestro. I want to go ahead and share the creative team on this first story and main story in Green Lantern. This one, of course, is written by Jeremy Adams, featuring art and a cover that I'll show you in just a moment from Xermanico. We have colors from Romulo Fajardo Jr. and letters over from Dave Sharpe. Here's a look at Xermanico's really bold cover over for Green Lantern #1. Really like this kind of really strong smile that Hal is kind of portraying over on this cover of the issue. And I love the way that Xermanico was able to depict some of those characters in the background too. I think the sort of like really strong facial expressions and sense of kind of presence and line over in the artwork is able to capture so much sort of interesting nuance over with haljordan. Now, I want to go ahead and extend a big thank you to Adventures in Poor Taste for posting this preview of Green Lantern #1 so quickly. I want to go ahead and jump into some of the writing and art from Xermanico. I love the fact that Hal is striking so many kind of smiles here as he's protecting bystanders and really sort of has a sense of personality that I think writer Jeremy Adams has infused really strongly over to the issue. One thing that I was looking for across the pages of Green Lantern #1 was a book that had a sense of humor, but was going to be a little bit darker than some of the material we got over from The Flash from Jeremy Adams. And in that respect, I think they did an excellent job here in terms of the tone. I really love the fact that we're with a Hal Jordan who's kind of down on his luck, who is trying to sort of pursue Earth again because the other Green Lanterns are kind of turning a blind eye to it right now. Some of Hal's interactions with Carol are just so sort of intriguing and a little bit depressing, but earned, given the fact that Hal keeps returning to Earth and trying to pursue his relationship with Carol just time after time after time. And by now, she's kind of familiar with the routine over in terms of what Hal Jordan is looking to do. Still, he sort of kind of maintains this relationship over with Carol in the issue. And it was kind of funny watching the sort of animosity between the pair. And I did feel that I was sort of largely on Carol's side due to the fact that Hal is just so inconsistent whether he's going to be there or not in the series. Now, it's hard to kind of point out a villain in the Green Lantern franchise that's meant as much to the property as Sinestro. If you're writing a Green Lantern series, Sinestro has to be in the issue. Thankfully, Sinestro has a very fascinating appearance here. He didn't show up where I expected him to be. And also, I like the fact that it was so subtle when he showed up in the issue. You know, eventually I do want Jeremy Adams to tell a big Hal Jordan and Sinestro story, but I definitely don't think it needs to be rushed over in the issue. It was really kind of thrilling to watch Hal start to adapt to sort of everyday life as well. And when it was finally time for him to snap back into the superheroics, I did feel like it was a little bit earned in the issue, as we had gotten so much sort of characterization for Hal Jordan over in his kind of plain clothes. There is a supervillain in this issue, and I really enjoy the fact that the supervillain isn't taken incredibly seriously over from all the cast members. I like the fact that the supervillain has some sort of callback to previous DC continuity. I don't want to spoil who it is, because I think if you're a big Green Lantern fan, figuring out kind of who this character is and who they're associated with is a little bit interesting over in the story. I definitely encourage you to go ahead and check this one out. Also, I thought this issue was paced incredibly well here. Jeremy Adams doesn't try and just jam everything in his script. We're really kind of getting it down on his look, Hal Jordan. What I'm really hoping to see here eventually with Jeremy Adams and Xermanico in the future is for this book to have huge kind of, space opera epic battles with several kind of Green Lantern Corps and really become the kind of flagship book in the DC universe again. I would love to see that happen in the near future. But I think in order to get there, we have to start small. And I think in that respect, Jeremy Adams had some really fantastic writing for Hal Jordan. I did like some of the things that Grant Morrison did over in his run on the Green Lantern, but having a more like back to basics and a more streamlined approach to the character, I think really helped start me off with the Green Lantern franchise again on the right foot. So I really appreciated that. So I think this is a sort of great first story that does a wonderful job reintroducing Hal and establishing some of his relationships with the various characters. Plus, I love the fact that this issue goes slow. Hopefully, we should have a long time for the Green Lantern property to foster in the DC universe, and I don't want Jeremy Adams to just rush through an incredible amount of plot. Xermanico's facial expressions are absolutely wonderful. Would love to see him stick over on this book for a really long time. You know, if that wasn't enough for this Green Lantern series, there's actually two stories in here. The second one features John Stewart, and it's called Rise of the Revenant Queen Part 1. This one is written by Phillip Kennedy Johnson, featuring art from Montos, colors from Adriano Lucas, and letters from Dave Sharpe. I also really, really enjoyed this story. I think the artwork in this second story over from Montos is just shockingly beautiful. Montos uses so many lines to kind of evoke character expressions over in the issue, and just is able to sort of emote so much character interaction through some of the facial expressions here. I almost think that Montos's artwork is a little bit more detailed than Xermanico. But despite the fact that even one might be more detailed than the other, I think this is still sort of great artwork from each creator. Learning a little bit more about what John Stewart is currently going through is absolutely harrowing over in the issue. I think that author Phillip Kennedy Johnson is able to evoke this sense of tension in his narrative so well. I think Johnson is just so great at drawing, narratives with characters who have really kind of down-to-earth emotions, but very kind of palpable and very dangerous scenarios that they find themselves in. This character of the Revenant Queen has a sort of hellish introduction over to the second half of the story. It's so interesting to compare both of these stories because I think a lot of them have some of the same sort of feelings and emotions as we're getting sort of Green Lantern characters in plain clothes trying to sort of adapt to their environment. But the way that I think Phillip Kennedy Johnson and Jeremy Adams arrive at different kind of conclusions based on their writing sensibilities is so interesting to note over in this issue. And I think at the end of the day, both of these stories are incredibly strong. They feature really great writing and really great artwork. So those are some of my thoughts over on this new chapter of the Green Lantern. I think this was a really phenomenal back to basics approach for the property. As we kind of said up front, I would love nothing more than for this new Green Lantern series over from DC to be the home of kind of several events and new books. I would love to see the Rainbow Corps kind of filter back into the series. I'd love to see some of these other kind of Green Lantern supporting cast members fleshed out a little bit more, like Kilowog. Would love to see a big climactic storyline over with Hal and Sinestro in the near future. But at the end of the day, I definitely don't want Jeremy Adams or Phillip Kennedy Johnson to rush either of their narratives. I think they're doing a fantastic job just kind of establishing some of the first steps in this new era for both John Stewart and Hal Jordan. I want to know from you, did you like both of these stories as much as I did? What were your thoughts on some of the gorgeous artwork in the issue from both Montos and Xermanico? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for coming to check out this new era in the life of Green Lantern, and I'll see you very soon for the next video. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.